Hello, my name is Terry Gesualdo. Welcome back to another La Dolce Audio Fireside Chat video. This is going to be a short one, I hope. You never know. I just wanted to talk about making videos a little bit, about audio stuff. It's not super easy, but it's not super difficult. The most difficult part is the content, understanding the subject you're going to be talking about, and kind of having that outlined in your head to some degree. You know, it doesn't have to be totally, but you know, the better it is, the shorter you can make the video, the more you can stay on point. So, you know, going along here, you may notice a little bit of a progression in some things. Number one, I found drink my coffee first. I'm less scatterbrained, and if I'm less scatterbrained, then, you know, the more I can stay on point, and I think the better you guys will enjoy the videos. So that's the first thing, drink coffee first. Number two, do them in the morning. We have wonderful fog here in wine country in California that provides wonderful lighting. It is a little bright, you know, still, so, you know, I kind of tend to squint a little bit, you know, while looking at the camera, but that's not, you know, you're not here to really admire my beauty. Or better yet, my ugliness. Because I'm not beautiful. It's a thing. And so that's one thing. But but I found also make a video first thing in the morning after you get out of the shower, brush your teeth, drink your coffee, you're ready to go for the day. So that's when I make these videos, is when I have the lighting that's not so bright that I have to try to find a piece of shade. And I think the lighting outside is much better than inside. I made some inside videos. I didn't like the lighting as much. You know, there was some issues with that. And especially now that I'm gonna be showing more on the videos, because today I'm gonna make another video right after this one, the second in the series of the open baffles. So, you know, spoiler alert, here's one of the visual aids that we're going to be sharing in that video. You may have noticed as well, switching gears here, I'm not good at bridges or segues. This could be a segue. Anyway, in the videos, you know, sometimes you kind of have to get into subjects and things like that, you know. And I don't know how not to put my foot in my mouth. I don't know how not to put things bluntly sometimes, and I don't know how not to do other things. I did notice in the very first few videos that I was looking up a lot when I was thinking. So now I try to have a point over here, out here on the patio. I try to have a point over here where I look at and look off into space. And I'm a spacey person anyway, so that's fine. But man, this has been both incredibly difficult and incredibly fun, and hopefully beneficial for those that are watching these videos. You know, this is just an FYI kind of thing for your information, and there'll be a few BTWs in here too, by the way. So it's a thing. And you know, I think in these fireside chats we'll have some upcoming videos as to some of the things I'm working on, and my ideas. And you know, you guys could comment whether you think those ideas are good or not, and what they might sound like or what they might do. And that this next in the whole entire series about open baffles, what we're trying to do, like we mentioned in that first part of the open baffle videos, we're trying to mimic a point source. And there's lots of ways of doing that. So that's what open baffles try to do, if you make them with that understanding in mind. If you don't, you're going to make a decent speaker, because open baffles don't have resonance. So you're gonna make a speaker with definite positives. You may struggle to balance everything out, in that speaker, and there may be other struggles, like with the crossover and things. But just welcome to the journey of audio. When you DIY, it's an entirely different journey than buying stuff. So, hopefully this will be kind of like a way of helping those in the DIY open baffle community. I mean, I for those that want to experiment, but want to kind of start off with a really good base first, then I think the compact baffles we sell with Little Dolce Audio is the great place to start. And if I were a person, knowing what I know now, getting into open baffles, I would start with the 15-inch coaxial, and I've been thinking about getting an additional 15-inch coaxial. I have one here that we designed whose FS is around 30 hertz. And it also has a very nice extension, and it has a very nice tone to it, and it's coaxial, and you can put a tweeter on it. And I have these tweeters, they're on my website. I don't really talk about them or advertise them much. They're for the beginner, and you don't need to put any LPAD on them to put them in the coaxial drivers, because they are the same sensitivity, and they have an open back on them, so you get the rear reflection. And watch the open baffle series that I'm making right now. Hopefully they'll be completed soon, and that will help you understand what you're trying to achieve, what's happening. And then once you get that 15-inch coaxial, just cut a hole, put it in a piece of wood, don't worry about anything, and then start to analyze it. Now, at that point, you can experiment and understand what crossovers do and how to tame some things. All drivers have breakup modes. The question is how bad and how to tame them. And crossovers can go a long ways in taming those breakup modes by just not feeding the driver the frequency in which the breakup modes exist, and you're not going to get some of that sound. We at La Dolce Audio use a mechanical acoustical crossover means with our slot loading, and then that just damps the driver in the breakup mode region. So not only does it reduce the frequency that the breakup modes exist, but it also damps the breakup modes themselves. So that's very helpful. And you can hear the difference, so you can just experiment with that. Slot loading, I only have one patent on the slot loading, and that's the ring slot. But it's free, completely available for anybody who wants to do it DIY. And the plans are on the website and that sort of thing. Now, that's for our woofers and stuff. You may need to alter it some by making that center piece smaller or bigger. And you may have to order our compression cones that go back there to reduce that cavity so that you don't get any, excuse me, you don't get any Helmholtz resonance and things like that. And you can just, if you're willing, just cut it down, to a size you need if you make that thing smaller. I mean, you can go a little smaller without cutting it too much, and that sort of thing. In fact, if you wanted to, you could find a way of just putting that, it'd be somewhat difficult, but putting that compression cone in front of the driver without necessarily having a center round wood piece that's attached to the rest of the baffle. And to be quite honest, we're not, with the sound pressure levels we're engaging in, there's just not that much energy because of the sensitivity of these drivers that is coming out and doing much with that baffle. Turn your music on, listen to a level, maybe a little louder than you normally would, and go and put your hand on the baffle. It's not vibrating a lot. And that's because, number one, the sensitivity of the driver. When your sensitivity of your drivers are higher, you have less mechanical loss. Less mechanical loss means less of the cone's movement is getting transferred into the frame and other things and getting lost in heat and stuff like that. You just, higher the sensitivity means more efficiency. And so I think we've already talked about that. Well, maybe not yet, because we're going to have the third or fourth in the series of open baffles where we're going to talk about drivers, and we're going to talk about why higher sensitivity drivers are a little bit better for open baffles. If you do use lower sensitivity, and there are, quite frankly, when you talk about most of the open baffle companies making completed open baffles that they're selling on the market, and there's 3 or 4 of them, maybe 5 or 6 or more. I can't keep count. But most of them are using higher sensitivity drivers because of some of the benefits of them in open baffles. The one company using lower sensitivity drivers that I know of and selling them in kits, they have some huge advantages in some of the drivers they're selling. We can't deny that. But they're less efficient, they're less sensitive. And when you start getting in those areas, then some issues start to begin to happen. You can, but when you get below 90 dB watt meter sensitivity, now a lot more vibration is going to happen in that baffle, and you need to make it really sturdy, stiff, and it needs to have a lot more mass. Why is that? Well, we know mass does things for us. It's I think it's the second law of Newton of thermodynamics, where I don't even know if it's called thermodynamics. Anyway, it's the second law of what Isaac Newton said, where he said things at rest tend to stay at rest, and things in motion tend to stay in motion. So more mass at rest is going to be harder to get to move or vibrate, right? It's going to take more energy to move something of a higher, greater mass. And so it can tolerate the mechanical losses of that driver better. All right, so back to videos, because that's what this video is about, is me making videos. So all of this stuff, it's just simple physics. Well, if you didn't study physics in high school or college on any level, then it may not be so simple. It may be new to you, and that's a thing. It doesn't matter. But having the overview, basic understanding of things will help you. So if you're making your first open baffle and you just want to try any driver, that's fine. The easy way to do it is just pick less drivers with a little bit less power. They're going to be lower in sensitivity as far as near 90 dB, like the Eminence Alpha drivers. I believe they're called alphas, but they have a high QTS, and they're up there. And that's only for bass. You know, it's only going to give you a lot lower extension, and then they will tolerate a very mild slot loading. So that's not a bad thing, and they'll do that. But because of their motor strength, the BL specification of the driver, versus the mass, moving mass, which is the MMS, because of that relationship, they can't tolerate a lot of more mass loading because their motor is not strong enough. What will happen is you lower their sensitivity even more, and they really start to drop off fast on the top end, and so it's a those drivers are going to be much more delicate to deal with when it comes to slot loading. So you just have to be careful and just be very light with how you're loading them and things like that. And then there's a balance with all this, and understanding those specifications of the drivers and how transducers work and things like that helps, right? So we kind of, at La Dolce Audio, we kind of take some of that out of the picture with our 18s by just, this is the design, you could do this design, and we have a couple of different slot loading ring slots that we have used. You could use a rectangle slot, but it's going to be more problematic sonically. So you just have to realize that it's there's going to be more resonances and other things and diffraction and things going on in some ways that, depending on how you set it up and what kind of, it just depends. So it's going to be a little bit more complicated, and it doesn't matter that much. With open baffles, you're already crossed one of the major hurdles, and that is the the lack of cabinet resonance. And I kind of like to call it as what you see is what you get with the specifications in an infinite baffle. Those are drivers are measured in an infinite baffle situation, so frequency-wise. So what you see is what you get, and the open baffles is not going to be quite the same, because the baffle's going to control. The baffle itself acts as a high-pass filter, and we're going to get into that in the open baffle series. So that's kind of one of the two things we need to talk about with regards to the baffle itself. So anyway, making videos about this, I hope that they're helpful. That's the objective of them. I hope that my personality and my facci brute, as they say in Italian, my ugly face, isn't too distracting, or my, I cannot not itch. It's like, when you carry a heavy box or something, when you're moving and your nose itches all of a sudden. That's what happens when you make a video. You become very self-conscious, and other things start happening, and your nose itches and other stuff, and it just, if only I were normal. I don't even know what normal is. I don't even know if we have a normal, or a new normal, or an old normal. Normal's not a thing anymore. This world, we have everything. We're all over the map with everything. So anyway, hope you have a nice day. Hope you enjoy your sound and music of your system, and get the therapy you need if you're like me and you need to listen to music because it calms your soul. So anyway, have a nice day. Hope you enjoy your system.